What is going on, everyone? WWE Monday Night Raw for August the 24th, 2020 is in the books. We are right off the heels of a very good SummerSlam pay-per-view last night, and we are right on the heels of another pay-per-view, that being Payback, on the horizon this coming Sunday. So we've got a combination of a Fallout show and a go-home show all at the same time. We got some debuts, we got a bunch of matches tonight, and we have 3 big matches already set for Payback this Sunday. We got a loaded Raw review to get into. I hope you guys are doing well. Third night in a row for yours truly, as I was up here on Saturday night for NXT, last night for SummerSlam, and now here we are for Monday Night Raw, which saw the debut of Keith Lee and a lot of setup for Payback and the future. Not all good, but not all bad either. And many would say a couple of disappointing aspects of the show, especially the main event, with what we just saw transpire with Retribution. Didn't get any sort of reveal or anything like that. We just got them attacking, kicking some ass, and the show going off the air. I think tonight was mostly centered around the debut of Keith Lee and the 3 punt kicks that Drew McIntyre in kayfabe took to the head, even though I'm pretty sure Randy whiffed on all of them, and he could have a potential skull fracture and be out for an extended period, which is good because you don't need to be doing this match on Sunday if you're going to do another one between McIntyre and Orton. This way you do Orton and Lee instead, and I don't think the next pay-per-view, Night of Champions, is until like the end of September, so we basically have a full month here after Payback. How can they go 1 week between one pay-per-view and then a full month after that? That's so bizarre. Shouldn't you like space it out more? So we got a long time to build some issues for Night of Champions. At least I think it's Night of Champions coming up in September. You guys help me out with that. And yeah, stage is starting to get set. But we'll talk about the show tonight. We'll talk about the Thunderdome. We'll get into a little bit more from last night. And, of course, some big Payback news. Now, every time I go live, I forget to put my notes over here so I can read them. So let me just drag them from this monitor to this one so I can read and talk to y'all. We're going to hang out for a minute here, let people gather around in the chat. You guys can all sit in a nice little circle and hold hands while I talk about this stuff. And I want to be sure to knock out a couple of these super chats right off the bat before we get going. Sound check. Okay, I can be heard. All right, there we go. All right, I am visible, I am hearable, and we are ready to rock and roll. Good to see you in here, Chris Miner. I appreciate the $5 right off the bat. My roommates and I had a debate on who the best pretty boy gimmick was. I was saying Rick Rude, one said Dashing Cody Rhodes, and one said Rick Martel. Well, all of those gimmicks, they all kind of had that pretty boy gimmick. I think maybe Martel, because, you know, he was the model. Rick Rude had like that rugged handsomeness, and Cody, of course, was dashing. But of all the pretty boys, I'm probably going to go on Martel there. It's an interesting subject to open up with on a Monday Night Raw review. But let's go on Rick Martel. Handsome fella, you know, there's so few of us. How Wheezy, good to see you, man. Welcome back. Glad to have a mod in here. Appreciate the $2. Greg, you seriously didn't like the old Keith Lee theme? No, I kind of didn't. I'm not like shitting on it. I'm not saying I hated it, and I certainly don't mind if other people liked it. I was just never a fan of the bask in his glory. I don't know. I guess I got used to it. It just wasn't my favorite. Didn't really care about it. Like, it's not that I hated it. It's that if they changed it, I wouldn't care kind of thing. So they changed it tonight. We got a little bit of a different look, Keith Lee. Not many fans are a fan of either of those changes, the music or the ring attire. He kind of looked like he was wearing a dress in the ring a little bit there with what they had him in. It was just kind of odd. So, it's not getting very good reviews from the audience so far, and I don't ever listen to the theme songs anymore. Like, I barely pay attention. I think WWE's theme songs, now that Jim Johnson's gone, now that CFOs are gone, I just think they all kind of suck, and I barely even pay attention to them at all. The best example of that is last night when I was talking about Sonya Deville's theme. I thought she kind of looked a little bit like Broken Matt. And I'm like, man, her song kind of sounds the same too. And I thought it was like a new song, and somebody's like, no, dude, she's had that for 2 years. So that just goes to show you how much I pay attention. So, you know, for a theme song to resonate with me, it has to catch my attention, or it has to be catchy or something like that. And I just don't feel that with a lot of the themes now. And I didn't with this new Keith Lee theme either. So nothing against his old theme. I'm not, trying to start a war or anything. It just personally wasn't my favorite, and I didn't really care if they decided to change it, was pretty much my point. And good to see you as well. Barry, thanks for the $2. Daily pay-per-views when? Yeah, we might get there. Could you imagine 365 pay-per-views a year? Holy shit. That would be a lot of reviews. That would be a lot for me to keep up with. That'd be hard. That'd be a tough schedule. Let's hope we don't ever get to that. It's good to see you. Ungovernable, NJL. Thanks for stopping by tonight. We had a pretty good audience in here for the SummerSlam review last night, which was great. Brought in some new subscribers, had a good amount of views. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe. And if you're in here right now, smash that thumbs up. Try to get me up to a decent amount of likes before we really get rolling here. And before we get into the full Raw results, we got to talk about the big news that kind of, I think it opened up Raw. I think we learned this on Raw. We might have learned it on social media. I didn't hear about it until Raw started. And that is the Universal title match for this coming Sunday. So just like that, as it should be no surprise to most, after what we saw last night with Roman Reigns crashing the main event of SummerSlam, The Fiend winning the title, he shows up, beats the crap out of everybody, and the show goes off the air with him posing with the title. So WWE has wasted no time and made the match for this Sunday, Roman Reigns versus The Fiend versus Braun Strowman in a triple threat match. So this will technically be a title defense for The Fiend, and many people are just automatically assuming that Roman's going to win the title. Holy shit, WWE only waited 7 days to put the belt on him. I think it's just because that's where the pay-per-view was scheduled. I think Roman would be getting the title shot at whatever the next pay-per-view was. Even if the pay-per-view was 30 days away, that's when the title shot would happen. So this one just happens to be next Sunday, so they're doing it now. And to be honest, I think the fans ought to relax a little bit. Of course, everybody is just, immediately reverts right back into that, Roman Reigns hate, that Roman Reigns disgust. Oh, WWE always just puts him over. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But based on what we saw last night with Roman Reigns, can we at least hope that this isn't going to be the same old scenario? And can we please, for the love of fucking God, not take a shit in our hands and eat it over this stuff? I mean, minutes after that announcement was made, fans were losing their mind. They need 3 things to survive: food, water, and anger. It's unbelievable. So these little bitches started blowing snot out their nose as soon as the match was announced. And I'm like, all right, hold the phone here. We saw kind of a new attitude Roman last night. Many people are calling it a heel turn. I don't know yet. I don't know if I trust WWE to really have the nuts to do that. They didn't do it with John Cena, so they might not do it with Roman, but he certainly looked a lot more vicious and a lot more badass than normal. So if he was supposed to win the belt at WrestleMania anyway against Goldberg in a match that was about as predictable as you could ever ask for, isn't this kind of better? Wouldn't you rather see like a new attitude, ass-kicking Roman winning the title than just a boring, riot gear vest-wearing babyface Roman Reigns beating Goldberg for the title that we all saw coming 6.5 miles away? At least this is better. And who's to say it's even going to happen? Oh, good mic work. Don't be stupid. Of course they're going to put over Roman Reigns. Really? Okay. Since June of 2016, Roman Reigns has held a world championship for 60 days. 2 months in 4 years, this guy has been champion. Once he had that suspension, it was a long road back to the title for him. And then when he finally won it, he had to forfeit it due to his second battle with leukemia. And then, of course, he came back. He was set to get another title shot. COVID happened, and he was gone again. So it's been a long time since Roman has really even been on top. And to me, my conditions to this, I'm not going to try to be one of those cynical fans that's automatically going to assume the worst. I'm going to assume the best. And provided, I'm pretty much open to anything, provided it's not the same old Roman winning the same old matches in the same old situations. We saw a different Roman last night. Different teeth, different attitude, different everything. So if he's a part of this, and this is all going to be a new attitude Roman, let's wait and see what happens on Sunday. Who's to say he even wins the title? I think he probably will, but let's see how he does it. It would be weird to, for them to pass the belt to the Fiend like that, just to pass it right back to Roman. I suppose now Strowman could take the pin, and you don't have to beat the Fiend, but then why even have the Fiend win the title to begin with? Well, I guess he had to, because it was a false count anywhere, right? They should have just made no stipulation, had Roman come in and crash the party and just do a no contest, and then do the triple threat on Sunday, and Roman can pin Strowman and win the belt or whatever. But I think that I feel like this ain't the same Roman. At least that's how I feel in my gut. And if that's the case, and WWE is actually going to have, the creative courage to kind of shift gears or go in a little bit different direction with Roman Reigns, I don't see what's so bad about it. Yes, it's fast, but he's Roman Reigns. He was going to win the title at WrestleMania. He's back now. WWE's probably glad to have him back. We've all needed him back, and he's going to be in the title picture anyway, so they're just putting him in there. I get it. Oh, he should win some matches first and all that. Why? You know, he's like a 4-time former champion as it is. Did Hogan have to beat a bunch of jobbers before he beat Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9? No, he's Hulk Hogan. So what's the difference here? You know, at least Roman is actually a full-time competitor when he's not, you know, sick or when there's not a pandemic. So I am fine with it. You know, I love The Fiend. Trust me, you can't do anything worse to The Fiend than what you did in Saudi Arabia. I talked about that. I talk about that in every podcast. I will never forgive those assholes for what they did to him and Goldberg. So at this point, whatever they do with The Fiend now, who cares? He's already been buried, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But I still like the Fiend character. I think it would be cool if there's a way for him to hang on to the title somehow on Sunday. And maybe Retribution can play a role. You know, they closed out the show here tonight. If there is some sort of a storyline swerve with Roman Reigns, maybe he's behind Retribution or a part of Retribution or affiliated with it in some way. If we get a Retribution interference or we get all sorts of extracurricular shit happening in that triple threat match and Roman walks out with the title, I see no reason to shit our pants. Now, if it's the same Roman with the same old music, the same old wrestling gear, he cuts a pre-match promo saying suffer and succotash, goes out there and spears both guys and pins them and celebrates with pyro going off, that's one thing. But I don't really think that's going to happen. If it did, I can understand the anger. I can understand the criticisms. But let's wait and see if that happens first, because I think fans are just real quick to judge and just automatically assume that they're going to go right back to doing what they did with him. Not that they might not be right. They could be. But based on what I've seen and what we've seen, my gut tells me it's going to be different than that. So if it is different than that, let's just all take a deep breath and let's not go have to see our psychiatrists, shall we? Damn, wrestling fans. Boy, it's like the Twitter rears its ugly head every time something like this happens. I was almost like laughing. I'm like, my God, can fans get a goddamn grip on their lives, please, before they fly off the rails over something like this? See how it goes. You know, if that shitty scenario that I laid out, if that happens on Sunday, then I will join in the complaining. We'll all do it together. We can all send mean things to WWE, and we can come up here and rant and rave, and I can scream into my camera like a madman, like you see so many others doing. If that's what you want, that's what we'll do. But let's wait until it's necessary. Let's not jump the gun and assume the worst. Let's just see what the fuck happens. That's what patient people do. That's what adults do. That's what people without psychological defects do. So let's try to do that, okay? That's my advice. Roman Reigns gets the title shot on Sunday. If you have any cool scenarios for me, any ideas of what you would like to see happen, hit me with them. Throw me all sorts of crazy shit. I think it'd be awesome if Roman Reigns would be involved in Retribution. We're going to talk about Aleister Black later on. He had a very fishy return tonight as well. I'd like to see him get in the mix. Maybe Roman and Aleister and Ali or somebody. Maybe it's a group of guys, you know, kind of behind Retribution. I don't know if Roman is going to be affiliated with them or not. Most of me thinks no, but a little part of me thinks maybe. And if any of that comes to be true, then this could actually be good, not bad. So all I say is we should wait and see. That's what I say. Devlin Husband, appreciate it. Good to see you as well. Man, I got 3 monkey wrenches in here. It's my lucky night. Thanks for the $5. Which theme would you choose to listen to if you were forced to listen to one? Right to Censor, Brie Bella, or Stephanie McMahon? I'd choose death. You know what? I would actually choose Right to Censor. I would listen to that piercing my ears and my skull and my brain meat before I would listen to Brie Bella's or Stephanie's. Yeah, Right to Censor. I'm going with them. So anyway, did I miss any others? Nope, got Barry's, got everybody there. So anyway, yeah, that's my little initial rant there on Roman Reigns, because I know the entire wrestling universe was freaking the fuck out over it. But anyway, that's not the only match we have set for Payback. We got a couple of more that were set up as well, and we'll talk about that here as we go through the show. Now, because there was so much going down with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton and Keith Lee and all that stuff, I am not going to go in complete order here. I'm going to talk about all that stuff as a whole here first, and then we'll backtrack and hit the rest of the show. So just keep that in mind as we go through here, because I don't want to have to keep coming back and talking about Lee and Orton and all that stuff. But let me just get this to the right page over here. All right, where are we at? Okay, there we are. I'm where I want to be. Okay, so the show opens up with Drew McIntyre coming out to basically make a victory speech over about his victory last night over Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Of course, we saw him win that match with a backslide that I marked out for and I defended, while everybody else was like, "Oh, what a crazy finish!" I'm like, "Why is that bad? Like, why can't you have a? Why does every match have to be a finish or a finisher to end the match? Why can't you just pin a guy?" And plus Randy Orton and Edge had that greatest wrestling match ever thing. Randy Orton's claiming to be the greatest professional wrestler of all time. I liked that internal story of Drew beating him with a wrestling move. And if you remember, he slapped the figure 4 leg lock on him as well. So Drew talked about that. He said, "I beat you with a wrestling move, so what does that make me?" type of thing. He goes on to just kind of finish up his promo, and he's leaving. There's no Orton confrontation. His music doesn't play, and they don't come out there and jaw with each other and set up a rematch. Drew just starts to leave. Of course, he's in the aisleway. He's got his back turned. Randy Orton blasts him, attacks him, winds up dragging him back to Gorilla, and punts him back there, not once, but twice. Now, I know he kind of missed on both of them, but you have to use your imagination here. Nobody wants Drew to really get kicked, so let's not freak out about that either. But some people say that the kicks look a little fake or whatever, but that's why WWE does that shaky camera shit. So he punts him twice in the backstage area, and McIntyre, of course, he tries to get up from the first punt, and then he gets hit with another one. So, the officials are all gathered around, trying to get him some medical attention, and Randy Orton leaves. He's then caught up to backstage by the girl, the blonde one, and she's like, "Do you have anything to say about what you did to Drew McIntyre?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And then he heads down to the ring to cut a promo, and he basically comes out there and just recaps everything we just saw, and bragging about laying out Drew McIntyre and what he did to him and all of that. And that's when we hear the brand new music of Keith Lee coming out to make his debut and confront Randy Orton. So even though I have my issues with some of Keith Lee's booking and presentation tonight, I thought this initially was very good. You should have him come out there right away and establish himself as one of the top guys contending for the title on that brand. You already are short for title contenders as it is. I think they could easily make Aleister Black or Kevin Owens or even Ray a challenger for a title, but they don't seem to be doing that. They're lacking, the big names, the big stars. Randy Orton for SummerSlam was really the only reasonable choice for McIntyre as an opponent, which is why we all saw it coming so far away. So now having Lee out there, this adds another one to the mix, adds a whole nother dynamic, and like I said, it establishes him right off the bat as a big player on Raw, not somebody that's going to have 15 matches with Buddy Murphy first and go the route that Aleister Black or so many other guys did. Not that he still can't go that route. I actually am kind of leaning towards that he probably will, but at least it kind of establishes him right there as a big-time deal. So he's in the ring, confronts Randy Orton, and challenges him to a match right there. Orton says, "Nah, I don't feel like it, not right now." Backs out and goes away. And then they announce, I think, after the commercial, that match will, in fact, be taking place later on in the night. So then you then fast forward to the Keith Lee and Randy Orton match. They go at it for a while, and that's when Keith Lee kind of debuts that new ring gear. They've got him wearing a shirt now. He's got more of a purple tones to it than blue. And instead of wearing the tights, the spandex tights that he was wearing, they've got him wearing almost kind of like what Samoa Joe wears, but a little bit different. Basically just some workout shorts that are a little bit baggy on him. The problem is it looked like a skirt. Everybody was calling him Keith Skirt Lee tonight on Raw and on Twitter and whatever. So that might not be the best look for him. I don't know if WWE is going to re-elaborate that or reevaluate, I should say, or if they might hear some critiques from some of the fans. "Oh my God, he doesn't look right," or whatever. We'll see if they tweak any of that up with him. But the response to his new look and stuff wasn't very good, and I kind of agree because I don't think anything was wrong with his presentation whatsoever. I know I told How Weezy earlier I wasn't a big fan of his theme music, but that doesn't mean I think they need to change it. They could have left him exactly the way he was, and I don't know why they even decided to change him at all. I think that's just going to give you, that's just going to run the risk of the fans rejecting it, which I think most people did. So he looks a little bit different, but he's still Keith Lee. He's still a badass. He can still wrestle in there. And him and Randy Orton go at it for just a little while, and the match ends in a disqualification when Drew McIntyre, who got punted twice, shows up and attacks Randy Orton on the outside of the ring. Bell rings. Orton, I believe, is going to win here by disqualification. And that's when... wait, what the hell happened there? Did they go to commercial after that? After Drew attacked Orton? I think they did. Because what they did next was something that I didn't see coming and that I liked. I thought this was going to be them playing up that Drew McIntyre can survive anything. He got punted twice, and he's still badass enough to come out there and attack Randy Orton. So then they cut backstage after the commercial. McIntyre's back there. He's getting interviewed, I think, by the girl or Charlie or one of them again. And you think he's just going to talk a lot of smack and try to set up a rematch with Randy Orton. And as he's talking, Randy Orton attacks him from behind and then punts him for a third time. So that spot I liked. I thought that was good because I didn't see that coming. I thought it was just going to be a typical Drew promo, highlighting how badass he was. You can kick me, 2 times if you want. I'm still going to keep coming at you, and have Randy Orton be lurking in the shadows there and then knock him out and punt him for a third time. That was great stuff. He was taken away in an ambulance. Charlie Caruso reports to the audience that he might have a fractured skull and there could be bleeding on the brain, and they whisked him out of there and got him to the hospital. So I like that. I like that that he put Drew down because, like I said earlier, aside from Payback here this Sunday, you got a whole another month until the next pay-per-view, till Night of Champions or whatever, or Clash of Champions, whatever the fuck it is. So that'll probably be your match there, and then they might even have a blow-off at Hell in the Cell after that. So that's probably good. Have him sell it and take a couple weeks to do that, and then he can come back in early September, mid-September, and start building the match for the next pay-per-view. But in the meantime, for Sunday, they're going to do the match again between Keith Lee and Randy Orton. That was made official, and Keith Lee, who is good friends with Drew McIntyre, you saw him do a little photo op there with the NXT and WWE title over the weekend. I thought was really cool. I think they were working out together or something in the ring, and he's going to be taking on Randy Orton on behalf of his friend this Sunday at Payback. So we're getting Orton and Lee again, and what do you think they do there? That one kind of makes me nervous. I don't know, because I know fans love to use that word, burial. And I'll never use that word if somebody loses to Randy Orton, but I don't think you need to bring Keith Lee in and immediately have him get punted, RKO'd, and pinned clean in his first match against Randy Orton, even though Randy Orton is a legend. And there's nothing wrong with Randy Orton beating Keith Lee on paper, but based on the future and the hopes you have for Keith Lee, and based on how dominant he was in NXT and his couple of little cups of coffee on the main roster, just losing to Karrion Kross a couple of nights ago, I don't know if I'd do that. So it might be a situation where Drew McIntyre shows up and attacks, or maybe that's another match where we get some retribution stuff. I almost don't see either guy beating either one clean in the ring. I see some shadiness. I see maybe McIntyre coming in the ring, claymoring Orton, allowing Keith Lee to win, but then you're going to have a lot of fans saying that Drew was back too quick from 3 kicks. So I don't know. Not sure what to make of that, but I think Keith Lee versus Randy Orton is better than Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre at Payback. Stretch that issue out a little bit longer. That's a title feud with 2 really big names and 2 really good wrestlers, and I don't think you want to rush stuff like that. So maybe we can look back and say, in a year's time and say, damn, that McIntyre and Orton feud was good stuff. So take your time, WWE, which it looks like they're doing. So what do y'all think about the whole situation? Jennifer, I'll be getting into Dominic and Ray here as we go. We just got into our results here, so we'll get there. Yeah, and I'm kind of with you, Trey. Like, I'm certainly not opposed to Randy Orton becoming champion again. I kind of want him to. Like, I want him to win the title at some point. I also think maybe Orton is a guy that could be moved, maybe in the draft whenever that happens. I'm not sure, especially if he falls short here, because much like John Cena, I think WWE wants Randy Orton to be Universal Champion at some point. They want his name in the record books there. So I can kind of see him, maybe when he wins his next title, maybe it won't be against Drew. Maybe it'll be against Roman or I don't know, something like that. We'll see. The good thing there is that, we do have a lot of options, and it's just a matter of WWE taking advantage of all those options they have and coming up with something fun and not something stupid or boring or lazy or dumb. They put all their energy into the Thunderdome, but they can't put any energy into anything creatively. And let's see if they can prove us wrong here. And let's see if last night that new Attitude Roman is actually a new Attitude Roman and it sticks. Because if it does, I'm behind it. What I'm not behind is the same old Roman that the fans were rejecting for the past 5+ years. Give us something new. Give us a new attitude, new demeanor. Have him win the belt. I don't care. I don't care. So that's the second match that we have announced for Payback. So we got Roman, Fiend, and Strowman in the triple threat, and we've got Orton and Keith Lee. The third match that was announced is the Sasha Banks and Bayley tag team match. Sasha is going to be taking on Asuka later on in the show in a lumberjack match, and Bayley's got to face Shayna Baszler first. So prior to the match, Nia Jax turns back up backstage. We've seen her show up, and she's interviewed, and they're like, I know, how did you come back? You were supposed to be suspended. And she's like, well, I went to Pat Buck, and I gave him. And I'm like, Jesus, if they say BJ or something, I'm going to pop, and I'm going to mark out. And she says, I gave him an apology. She's like, what did you think I was going to say? Or whatever, something like that. Shayna Baszler then shows up and calls Nia a bunch of names and calls her Haystacks Calhoun, which fucking blew my mind. And then she said that Haystacks Calhoun was better looking than Nia Jax. Pop for that. And then, was that the spot where she bitch slapped her? That was great. She just slapped the shit right out of her like that. So then Bayley has got to go to the ring to take on Shayna Baszler. So Shayna then goes to the ring. Her and Bayley have a really, really short match. Nia Jax interferes. She attacks Shayna, right? And that was where it kind of got confusing because I was only kind of half eyeballing the show. And she comes down and attacks Shayna, which I understand because Shayna just slapped the shit out of her backstage. But then Bayley and Sasha kind of back away, and Shayna and Nia are like standing together, and kind of back off the tag team champions. And it's then announced that at Payback, that's going to be the match. We talked last night that I thought it might be Shayna and Asuka, because we did see them briefly team up a week ago or whenever it was. And that's a badass team. Shayna and Nia, however, I don't know. So now they've got to take on Sasha and Bayley for the tag team titles at Payback. So that's the third match we have announced for that. And we'll see. And the ladies wouldn't be done because Sasha, luckily, after she lost last night, is getting another shot at the title, and she'll be facing Asuka later on. It was around this time that it's all over social media. It was around this time that Chris Benoit was seen in the Thunderdome, pretty much in the first or second row there, really close to the ring. Somebody had a picture of one of the last known photos of Benoit ever. It was the one taken at the doctor's office. He's got the hat. He's got that very creepy grin on his face. And I think it was the last photo of him ever taken. And that was shown on the screen. And, a lot of fans thought it was kind of funny, I suppose. But, at the same time, don't go into business. Oh, shit. Don't go into business for yourself if you're in that Thunderdome stuff. I'm going to try to go on there and register for it or see if we can get ourselves on there or something. I think it's, I think it's kind of, maybe it can be funny. There's going to be some instances of trolling where I might get a kick out of it, but why even do that? And then somebody else did it after that. So don't ruin, if the fans don't ruin the Thunderdome, this is so much better than the PC. Vince might act like the happy birthday, Vince McMahon, by the way, turned 75 years old today. Holy shit. But Vince might get pissed and say, fuck it, back to the PC. So don't ruin it for everybody, So if you're going to troll or something, do something cool or do something fun. Don't do something stupid. Just be mindful of how you troll, I suppose. I'm not necessarily against, maybe trolling WWE a little bit because they troll the shit out of us on a daily basis. But don't ruin the Thunderdome and don't cause problems and don't make WWE have to make all sorts of adjustments that might take away from the fan experience there just because you want to make a name for yourself, and which you're not. Even doing that, you're not going to become Twitter famous over that. People forget about you in 3 hours. It's not going to matter. So the whole thing is pointless to even do it. But I can't lie, there's like 8% of me that did laugh a little bit. So I'll at least admit that. After that, we had the Kevin Owens show. Now, last night, Kevin Owens sat in on guest commentary for one of the matches at SummerSlam, I forget which one, and announced that he's inviting Aleister Black, a name we haven't heard in a while. He's been out for some time since he took the eyeball shot to the steps by the Monday Night Messiah and all of that. So it was kind of surprising to hear that. And I'm like, ooh, that could be good. So Kevin Owens is walking around backstage. Apparently, he never heard back from Aleister Black about his invitation. He opens up like this closet, this dark room, and I guess he sees him in there. He's like, "Are you coming? Because the show is next, and the segment is next. So if you're going to take me up on my offer, you kind of need to come out there." So Owens comes out, introduces Aleister Black. He comes out wearing a black suit and kind of like a headband that he's using as an eye patch. So we've got a lot of guys in the wrestling business this year wearing eye patches: Moxley, Ray, Aleister, and who else? Who am I missing that was rocking an eye patch this year? So Aleister comes out. I can't even remember what was said. Not much was said in the promo. I think both guys said a couple of words, and you can almost tell that something was off about Aleister Black, and then he turns, at least what I think is a turn, and he kind of turns his back and then turns around and bam, and elbows Owens right in the face, attacks him, beats him down, and I guess that sets the stage now for a Kevin Owens and Aleister Black program, which is on paper is not bad at all. It could actually be quite fun, especially heel Aleister Black. And it gives them both something significant to do with a wrestler that's not, completely worthless on the roster. Both these guys are pretty credible and interesting, and I think Aleister Black they've really missed the boat on him, even though they did have him undefeated for over a year on Monday Night Raw. I still think that everything they've done with him isn't what I would do with him. So maybe there's more to this issue than meets the eye, no pun intended. I hope that there is, because if this is just Aleister Black temporarily blinded, he's a heel now, he has a feud with Kevin Owens, and then it's all over and there's nothing else attached to it, and then eventually they phase out the eye patch, and then he's just Aleister Black, but now he's heel Aleister Black. Is that really going to lead to anything more for him? That's what we want. This guy should be contending for the title. You know how we said Mcintyre doesn't have any challengers? That's not because of a lack of depth. That's because of lack of WWE's creativity. They could easily make Aleister Black a top contender for the title, just like they could Kevin Owens, just like they could Andrade, just like they could a lot of people on Monday Night Raw, but they don't. So don't fuck it up again, with Aleister Black. Make this thing good, and hopefully these two can, have a little kind of a lengthy program and have some cool matches. And I'm sure some of the matches are going to be pretty brutal. There's going to be some hard-hitting affairs there. I'm guessing they'll do this one at Payback, probably, and then series of rematches on Raw or something like that. I don't know how they can hold these guys off all the way till the end of the month of September for the next pay-per-view. I think they're going to have to do something here at Payback and then continue on TV in the Thunderdome with those two. But at least it gives them something to do. At least Aleister Black is back. We did hear some stories about him maybe leaving and getting a gimmick change, and maybe that's what this is. And I'm not totally ruling out that he could have something to do with Retribution, just like Roman could. I think WWE is keeping, the fans on their toes, because we got a couple of people now in mind. We still got that hacker that we haven't seen in a while. He could turn out to be a big part of this as well. And I'm hoping that would give something for Ali to do if they ever decide to make use of his talents. WWE, man, they just have all this talent. They have so much talent, they literally don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it. All these guys could be champions, or at least championship contenders, and be in big matches and pay-per-view main events, and they're just not. So we'll see if all of that ties in somehow together in the future, or if Black is a part of that, or whatever. But whatever they do, I hope it's good. And so far, from based on the reaction from the fans, not too many people are a huge fan of Retribution. A lot of people think it's lame, and and tonight was kind of no different. They've had like one or two moments that I thought had been done really well, and the rest of it has been laughable, completely laughable. So we'll see. Even though we were like, oh man, maybe Roman or Aleister could be attached to Retribution. Well, we don't want Retribution to ruin them, because so far it's not very over. So we'll see. After that, we had Akira Tozawa taking on R-Truth and Shelton Benjamin in a triple threat match for the 24/7 title, and he won it back, was able to win the title back, and scurried out of the ring before anything happened. Shelton Benjamin beat the shit out of a couple of ninjas on the way out, and the Hurt Business was pissed, and they would go on and make their presence known back in Raw Underground again, which is kind of cool because I liked them there during the first week. We then cut backstage. Charlie Caruso's back there. She's got an interview with Garza and Zelina, and she approaches Garza and Zelina and the girl, Demi Frittata or something like that, whatever her name is. So they're back there, and she's doing her thing. Garza's got a match in the ring next with Montez Ford. Commercial, we come back. Garza and Ford are in the ring. Backstage in that segment, the girl, the blonde, had mentioned, Demi, I think, had mentioned that she'd been talking to Ivar, and Garza's like, oh my God, don't be talking to her or whatever. Why don't you come out here to my match and watch me? So she escorts him down to the ring with Zelina, and during the match between Garza and Ford, Ivar shows up. I think he's got one of those turkey legs you can find at the county fair with him, and he entices, the pretty little blonde girl to come with him, and it reminded me, minus the turkey leg, of course, it reminded me of when Mr. Perfect was teasing a comeback in WWE in '96, and he was showing up at ringside, taking away the valets of Triple H, of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, luring him away, and that led to the big Raw match between them that never happened and turned out to be a swerve, and Perfect turning heel and helping Hunter win the Intercontinental title from Mark Merrow. That whole situation, that immediately reminded me of that, and Ivar walks away with her. So, I mean, I don't blame her. Ivar is a sexy beast. If I was her, that's who I'd go with. That's for sure. So good for him. Hope he got a little action backstage. Good for you, Ivar. So that stupid storyline continues. We'll see where it goes from here. I honestly don't care. After that, this is when Nia and Shayna had the bitch slap. So backstage, we cut backstage again. Shayna and Nia are back there. They're talking to each other, and that's when Shayna just slaps the crap out of Nia Jax. Made me feel so good. It gave me this warm, fluttering feeling in my heart. I said on Twitter that every time someone bitch slaps Nia Jax, a cute little 5-year-old girl gets a puppy for her birthday. That's what I think happens. So let's root for as many Nia Jax bitch slaps as possible. And they're kind of like reluctant partners. Nia even is like, I don't like you, but I also kind of want to win those tag team titles. So maybe we should talk about kind of being on the same page here a little bit. We'll see. Not really into that tag team. Don't really care if they win the titles or not. After that, we had a 6-woman tag with Liv and Ruby finally getting some decent backup in the form of Bianca Belair. You don't even need Liv and Ruby for this because they're taking on Zelina and the Iconics. Liv and Ruby, hang backstage, have some Fritos. Bianca's got this. There's no reason why she can't go out there and whip the shit out of all 3 of those girls by herself. And she pretty much did. She was very dominant in that, wound up pinning Zelina for the win. And finally, Ruby and Liv get in the win column thanks to Bianca Belair. She's the only reason y'all won. I love her. After that, we had the really stupid arm wrestling contest. We've had probably a dozen. We can think of so many. Like Steiner and Triple H, and maybe those aren't even ones. Mark Henry's been in a few. All sorts of arm wrestling contests throughout the years on Monday Night Raw. The one that I always think of is Sunny and Marlena from the Manhattan Center in 97 during the ECW Invasion Raw. That was hot stuff. You had Honky Tonk Man. He was the referee for it. Great shit. If you've never seen that, go back and watch it. But this was something I had zero interest in. I didn't see that. I had to go back and catch the replay because I didn't see it. I was actually on the phone setting myself up a COVID test for Wednesday. I'll talk about that later. So I didn't see even what happened because I didn't care. Mark Henry was out there as the moderator for that. It's between Lashley and Apollo, which is good because that needs to be our next U.S. title program after Apollo disposed of MVP last night. It's got to be Lashley. That's the match I thought they were going to do at SummerSlam, was Lashley and Apollo for the title. But they're stretching it out. Now they're going to arm wrestle. Apollo did wind up winning. I couldn't tell, though. It almost looked like he caught Lashley off guard or something. As soon as it started, he just slammed his hand down, and then he laughs and he scurries away, and he kind of got one over on Lashley. So now Lashley's pissed. So you got the whole Hurt Business upset by what's been going down with them tonight. After that, the Mysterio family is backstage. You got Ray, Dominic, and Angie. I forgot her name last night, but Mom is there as well. Ray talks about Dominic, how proud he is of him, of his performance last night, and he says, Seth, you like to talk about the future. This right here is the future. My boy is the future, and Ray is not wrong because Dominic was really impressive last night. Now, a lot of us were thinking that Dominic would turn heel. I was hoping he would, and maybe he still will eventually, and maybe since that match was slated to be the main event, by the way, tag team match with father and son, Ray and Dominic taking on Seth and Buddy, and it was the main event. You wondered if maybe something like that was going to happen, but, we saw what we saw. After that, Natalya and Lana do some weird in-ring promo. They're both dressed all in white, and they're going to induct Mickie James into the Hall of Fame. And it was basically just a joke. They show a montage of all the great moments of Mickey's career, which consisted of just a black screen, which was kind of funny. Mickie then shows up looking great. Mickey's just phenomenal. She shows up, beats the shit out of them or hits them, knocks them both out, and then walks away. Now, a lot of people took issue with her re-debut last week, and I agree. I have no idea what they were doing there with her. They kind of made it a big deal that she was going to be coming back, offer a little bit of veteran leadership in the women's division in the locker room. And then a return match, she gets a jobber entrance, and it doesn't even get underway. You don't even really see the match because who the hell interrupted in that? It was about somebody else. Was it Seth and Murphy came out there? Something happened, and it turned out to be a count-out loss for her, and it's like, what are you doing, WWE? So WWE took a ton of shit for how they handled Mickie James last week. This was better. It was a step up, but still, probably wasn't what we want to see with Mickie. In the end, I'm sure she will wind up beating one or both of these ladies in a match. Maybe Lana first, then Natalya. I don't know, but that's what happened there. But welcome back, Mickie. I hope WWE starts treating her right. Before we finish off the rest of the show here, let me take a breather and cruise over here to the chat and knock out a couple of more super duper chats. We had, who's next here? Scott Moss, good to see you, man, and I appreciate the $5. What's up, good mic work? Who are your top 5 all-time? Oh, geez, that question. Mine are Savage, Hogan, Rick Rude, early 90s Sting, and Vader. Okay, I'm not going to give you them in order because I can't figure out which one's 1 and 2. I'll give you my top 5 off the top of my head. Bret Hart's definitely number 1. Randy Savage is number 2. I'd probably go Austin, Jericho, Brock. Maybe Austin, Jericho, Angle. Something like that. But that's tough. I did a top 10 favorite wrestlers years ago for like my 400th video. It's on my channel, and I still kind of agree with my list. Top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. So check it out, Scott. I might have changed a couple of things now that it's so many years later, but I pretty much still agree with what I said. And it's one of my most viewed videos ever, actually. How Wheezy, appreciate 2 more bucks. So what's the update on the new merch? I don't know. I got to get in touch with my man Dan. He might be in here right now. I got to get some new shit up. He was working on a couple of designs for me. One is ready to be submitted as a shirt, but I wanted to see what else we could come up with. But I'm actually also working on another video that's going to come up hopefully this week, hopefully before. I'm actually hoping like maybe Wednesday or Thursday if I'm lucky. It just depends on if I can get something that I'm waiting for. But I'm going to make use of all of this extra footage that I have from the Jericho cruise from last year. I did the big review back in January of my entire experience there, but I have tons of footage. So I thought it might be fun just for a little bonus video to upload just the raw footage. No narration, no music, no nothing like that. Maybe just some captions because I have got like almost near full matches recorded from the ship. I've got lots of great stories from the podcasts, all sorts of footage from walking around the ship and doing things and shit like that. So just a fun little side project I'm working on right now. And if I can get it all done, I'll have it up like Wednesday or something, but it's going to be this week sometime. I'm just not completely sure. But that's the next biggest thing coming to the channel for this week prior to this Saturday's podcast. So that knocks out the super dupers. I know, Barry, it's weird. That video has a ton of dislikes. I have no idea why. I don't think it was a dislikes because of who I was picking. I thought maybe it was worded wrong, or maybe the description, they thought they were going to see something else. I don't know. I think usually when you get dislikes like that, it's people think you're clickbaiting them or something, but all I put was like my top 10 favorite wrestlers, so I don't know why the dislikes, but anyway, I don't care. He's got a ton of views, and it made me a ton of money in advertising, so they can dislike it all they want. I don't give a shit. Hey, Madeline, good to see you. I heard that. There are reports that Vince got to the show less than an hour before it was supposed to start and changed the whole thing. I did hear about a couple of rewrites. There was a bunch of stuff left out of Raw Underground. Apparently, we saw Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir kick some ass in there, and they scrapped it. Titus O'Neil did something as well. None of that was shown. It was all Hurt Business stuff, which is actually the next thing I'm going to talk about. So Lashley's pissed about the arm wrestling contest. Shelton's pissed about losing the title, so they approach Shane McMahon, who's standing back there by the Raw Underground door with that giant dude, and they're like, we want to fight, and Shane's like, all right, come right on in. And this is our first look at the new Raw Underground setup, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. It's just, it doesn't have that, I almost like the PC look better. I cannot believe I'm saying that, but I thought Raw Underground felt a little bit more underground. Even though it was right next to the regular ring, it was still more, it was like in that storage room. You saw shelves, you saw shit laying around. There was a lot of clutter. I almost like that. This was, they kind of created a stage for this. They put some like dark lighting around it. They still had the lighting the same, but the background was different. And it's fine. I don't really care at the end of the day, but I think I kind of liked what they were doing at the Performance Center a little bit better than this. So the Hurt Business show up. Lashley gets in there first. He starts beating the crap out of Ziggler, takes Dolph Ziggler and tosses him off the ring, like into the wall next to the ring. So that's pretty funny. He then kills another guy after that. I think they might do the Asuka Sasha match next before coming back to the Raw Underground, which is what I think they did. And later on, we would just see the Hurt Business continuing to kill people in there. So they're just mad. They're beating everybody up. And Shane McMahon says, all right, well, we'll see what happens next week. And that was kind of the end of Raw Underground. So I like when the Hurt Business is a part of Raw Underground. That first week, I thought that Shane was just used as a way to introduce Raw Underground, and then Hurt Business would come take it over. I mean, they're the Hurt Business, so they might want to run Raw Underground as their business or something. That's kind of what I thought they were going to do. So it's kind of cool to see him go back into Raw Underground here, because so far my favorite parts of Raw Underground have been when the Hurt Business is in there. So we'll see. I would like to see Lashley continue to beat some dudes up in there and eventually one day lead to some awesome Raw Underground confrontation between Lashley and like a Brock or something. I think that would be so fun. But I think in Lashley's immediate future, it's going to be a shot at the U.S. title, obviously, probably from Apollo Crews, and I think he'll probably win it. I think he should win it, to be honest. So anyway, we then had the Sasha Banks Asuka rematch from last night. Asuka's defending the Raw Women's title, this time in a lumberjack match, and I love the stuff they did with Sasha and Bayley. They had a couple of backstage little interviews. When they came out to the ring together, the way Sasha was kind of like pouting like a little 3-year-old kid, holding the belt, clutching her tag team title as Bayley's strutting out there with her 2 belts. I like that. Thought it was a great visual, and I knew there was no way. This match isn't even the main event. They're not going to put the belt back on Sasha. This is just a way to close this issue, I think, and you knew Asuka had to retain here. And luckily she did. Match wasn't special. Bayley seems hell-bent on the outside of the ring of trying to help Sasha because you know she feels guilty as shit for what she did last night. So she's really going out of her way to try to help out Sasha Banks. It's backfiring every time, and it backfires in the finish too when I think she goes to try to give Sasha a chair, but Shayna Baszler kind of stops her, and Sasha's not able to grab the chair, and Asuka rolls Sasha into the Asuka lock, and Sasha has to tap out again. So that's that. Luckily, Asuka escapes this whole nonsense with the Raw title, and she didn't have to pass it off to one of them, and hopefully now those two can just concentrate on their tag title match at Payback, and I think they're probably going to drop them there, and then they're just on SmackDown now, which is probably where they belong, and that's really all we need them. They're a great part. They're a big part of SmackDown, and probably right now the most entertaining part of SmackDown. So let them be that and take them off the other 2 shows, because when Charlotte was on all 3 shows, it was the worst thing in the world. Overexposed. That word was said so many damn times. It's become a part of the IWC's DNA. So if it's overexposure for Charlotte, it's overexposure for them. You can't just pick and choose which ones it works for. So I don't think it's necessary for them to be on all 3 shows, and I'd like to see them phase that out and stay on SmackDown and continue to entertain the shit out of me, because they do. Bayley's awesome, and then you can have Sasha be the one. Sasha's going to lose another belt on Sunday. She's going to be even more dejected. Then you can implode them, and then you do the match. But and then you got a month. You got a month to build that, or at least maybe stretch out the implosion first. But I would think that they would go ahead and do this match at the end of September. It feels like, and you finally are going to get, after a year and a half, maybe even close to 2 years now, waiting for Sasha and Bayley to come face to face and come head to head and wrestle for a title, and we might finally be on the doorstep of that happening. So we'll see. But all in all, I'm glad that Asuka retained there. Now she can do her thing. I don't even know if she's going to have a title match at Payback. Maybe not, because I feel like her biggest contenders are already involved in a match. They're going to be teaming up to take on Sasha and Bayley for the tags. So Asuka might have to have another random opponent. Maybe she takes on, I don't know who she'd take on. I have no idea who Asuka would even face at Payback if she faces anyone. But give her a pay-per-view off. She had 2 matches at SummerSlam. She didn't even need to work Payback. So I'd say keep her off the show. Don't book Asuka. That leaves us with the main event. Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic taking on Seth Rollins and Surfy Murphy in a tag team match. Dominic, after the ass whipping he took last night, he was in there still moving around pretty good, still looks good, still impressive. And he was delivering a lot of punishment, a lot of beatings to Seth and Buddy Murphy. He's about to go to the top at one point, which, what looks like to be his frog splash or something, and that's when the lights start flickering. And you knew something had to happen here. I thought maybe Dominic would turn. I thought it would be cool, a little nod to the Shield, if Dominic turned on Rey the same way Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. You can have Rey in the ring looking at Seth and Buddy in the aisleway, and Dominic's behind him, and he's got a chair in his hand, and then he comes up and he just smashes his dad right in the back, and he goes to a knee and falls into the ropes just like Roman did when Seth hit him. And then you can cut to Seth and Murphy just smiling with that grin on their face, cut backstage to the monitor to watch Mom bawling her eyes out. Oh my God. And Dominic lays down a vicious beating on his dad. I thought they might do that, but they didn't. Lights start to flicker. Retribution hits the ring. Seth and Murphy get the hell out of there. Poor Dominic is left in the ring by himself. Retribution completely surrounds the ring. There's at least 2 females in this group, you could tell. One was blonde, one was dark hair, I think. One of them had a lot of their face exposed too, but I really had trouble making out who it was. Most people are convinced one of them is Vanessa Bourne. So they then surround Dominic. Ray tries to come in to help him and save him, but he gets attacked as well, and Retribution just beats the hell out of Ray and Dominic. They stand up on the ring apron. They almost kind of do like a Nation of Domination type of pose as the show goes off the air. So I thought maybe, because one of those, the couple of those guys were pretty big, I thought maybe someone would rip off the hood. But I'm not ready for a revelation yet because I'm not invested in Retribution that much yet. Most of what they have done has been a little bit dumb. So I don't even think I'm ready for them to reveal to me who's behind this. I'd rather see this become a bigger story. Like all the things they do on TV, we consider to be lame and dumb and pointless and all of that, but maybe it's done on purpose for it all to make sense later. And if it turns out that they are being led by someone like Roman Reigns, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it did, that could turn interesting, and that would change all of the future segments they do with Retribution. It's not going to be boring and lame anymore. Might be pretty good if we now know who their leader is and we now know what their motives are. So we'll see. I'm not ready for it yet. Tonight was maybe a little bit of a letdown. I mean, I think they could have done the Retribution thing in the middle of the show or something, but they kind of closed the show there. The announcers took off running as well, so they didn't even do any damage. I mean, that one week they had chainsaws and shit in the ring. So, they didn't tear the ring up. They didn't break anything down. They didn't attack any civilians. I thought they would take baseball bats to the fans' faces, in the Thunderdome. That would be pretty cool. Isn't it funny how there's like some fans that are below the barricade? Because when the camera is close enough, you can see them down there. And so you can't even see their faces. They can see, but I just think it's funny that they have them hidden below. Maybe that's where they put all the ugly people. I don't know. But yeah, that was Raw, just with Retribution closing the show there and attacking everybody, and same old as it comes to them. So whenever they do the reveal here, how long do you think WWE waits to do this? Is this going to be something that's still a month away, 2 months away? Are we going to go until Christmas time without knowing who's behind this shit? I think that will grow very old very quick if they wait that long. And like I've said before, I really hope it's not a situation where WWE doesn't know what they're going to do, because 9 times out of 10, when you have a storyline like this, when there's a whodunit, or there's who's in charge, or who's the leader, or who's in the limo, or who's in the higher power, or anything like that, it's always a letdown. Or who ran over Austin, it's always a letdown. So if WWE is doing this without knowing who the leader is going to be, I guarantee 1,000,000% it will fail. If they've known all along, and they're structuring and they're booking these segments in such a way to where it kind of makes sense at the end, then that's what I really hope that they're doing. But that's going to take a lot of faith in WWE's creative process, and I have 0 faith in their creative process. So we'll see. Hit me with your ideas. Let me know what you think they're going to be doing with the Retribution stuff. Devlin, got another one for you. Oh, you and me have like the same top 5. Thanks for the $5. Devlin's top 5 favorite wrestlers: Nia Jax, Baron Corbin, Eva Marie, Tyson Fury, and Rob Gronkowski. That is a sweet-ass top 5. It's hard to disagree with any of that. You just have to promise me that Nia Jax is number 1, and that's all I need. And maybe, who's somebody else that everybody hates? Charlotte, probably be on my list too. Hey, there's Dan Price. What's going on, dude? Appreciate the $2. Thoughts on Brody Lee winning the TNT title? I liked it. I think it was time for Cody to drop it. And if you're going to give Brody Lee the title shot after he's already come up short in the world title shot, and you also want to make him a big character and a big deal on your roster at the same time, he can't lose again. So everything they did, all the extracurricular stuff, I thought was really good too. Laying out Cody, laying out Brandy, beating the shit out of Arn, destroying the old belt, walking away with it. It really strengthens the Dark Order, and I loved it. So I thought Dynamite, we haven't got any ratings yet, right? For Dynamite, we probably got them today. Let's look them up right now. Are the ratings in? I know exactly where to go. I don't see them. Okay, I don't think they're out yet. I don't think we have ratings yet for Dynamite on Saturday. But if anybody has seen them or knows them, the place that I usually check them is not up. That might be a tomorrow type of deal. I don't know. I ain't sure how any of that stuff works. You know what I mean? I just don't know. But anywho, all right. That takes care of that. Let's go back to the chat. Way over here. Oh, good. Nia Jax is number 1 for sure. That's all I cared about. "17 years ago today was SummerSlam 2003. I remember that one. What was that? Brock and Angle. What was the other match? Oh man, was that the one with the cage match? I barely remember SummerSlam 2003. Who the hell was wrestling for the world title at that time? Oh, Goldberg. That's right. That was the Chamber, right? Was that the Chamber? Maybe Brock and Angle. Wasn't there a cage match or something where Brock and Angle turned? They switched. Maybe Brock turned heel and Vince was involved. That happened somewhere. But yeah, I think the SummerSlam 2003, that was the cage match with the blonde-haired Kevin Nash. And when Triple H, that was when most fans felt that he really was that reign of terror Triple H. There was never a better example of that when he beat Goldberg in the Elimination Chamber and the fans lost their mind. Good stuff. Great times. Mike Maxon, thanks, dude. Appreciate the 5. If WWE offered you a job hosting a post-Raw show like Talking Smack or Talking Raw, would you do it? Probably not. I've said a million times that I don't want to work for them. And if that included moving to Connecticut, fuck no. I live in San Diego. I ain't leaving this for Connecticut. I mean, it would have to be a very well-paying job. You got to pay me 14 times more than I'm making right now, and then I'll consider it. But probably not. I like my life, and I don't want to go work for a company that's going to micromanage every damn thing that I do and drive me absolutely out of my mind and living in a freezing cold, miserable fucking state in a miserable part of the country. No. I'm saying no. If I can stay here and do it remotely during COVID and I can have this job forever, then yeah, if I can sit right here in San Diego and work for them, I'll do it. But if it involves anything to do with Connecticut, kiss my ass. That's what I say. Wow, Dre, SummerSlam 03 was your first SummerSlam you saw live on pay-per-view. I saw 88, man. I remember. Jesse Ventura is the referee. Ultimate Warrior, squashing Hunky. Great, great times. Oh, really? Vincente says 22 years ago today was the epic Raw segment where HBK saved China from the nation. I did a review on that whole show. Barry, did I not? That's on my channel, right? I don't even know how to find that. I was going to post a link here for you, but I don't even know where to look for that on my thing. I'm pretty sure. Oh, there it is. I'm pretty sure I did that. Yeah, August 24th, 1998. There it is. I'm going to hit you with a link on this one, man, so you can watch it. I did a whole review on this show. Here you go. Here's the link to that Raw. That's for you, Vincente. Right there. There you go. Yeah, I always liked that. I remember watching that live, too, and Sean, because I kind of marked out for that, because last time Sean was, around, he was, associated with DX, and he was kind of off, with his injury at that time. He was only on Raw doing commentary, and Chyna's getting worked over, and he finally, can't take it anymore. I'm like, come on, Sean. And he gets in the ring and helps her out. That was good stuff. Good stuff. Huh. 03 was the year you were born. That is hilarious. So, all right. Anyway, let me go back to my notes here. Is there anything else we need to talk about? I didn't see too much in the way of wrestling news today in terms of, what was floating around out there. Haven't seen too much more on Karrion Kross's injury, other than he said he's not going to be out for that long. They might have dodged a bullet there. We have Tommaso Ciampa returning to NXT, I believe, this Wednesday. So if they do have to do anything to explain the injury with Karrion Kross, I said this last night too, that I'd rather have them do like an injury angle. Like they can acknowledge the shoulder injury in the match with Lee, but then have Ciampa show up and add to it, and make it worse and attack him with a crutch or whatever, and maybe give him a reason to not be on TV for a couple weeks. Otherwise, if he has to be out for an extended period, I'm worried that they're going to have to do something with the title, and that's just not what you want to do with him. Oh, we got another match announced for Payback. Here's another one. It is official. Apollo Crews will defend against Bobby Lashley. So that's now 4 matches. Might even be more than that. 4 matches that I know of for sure for Payback. Yep, Sasha and Bayley defending the tags against Shayna and Nia. We got Lee and Orton, and we have the big triple threat with Roman Reigns returning to the top and probably winning the Universal title, and the fans are going to lose their minds. And I am not going to lose my mind because I don't care. All right. Well, let's just chill out now. I got through the results in an hour here, so if there's anything we should elaborate on tonight in terms of WWE Raw, we'll do that here. Otherwise, fire away with some questions. I'll hang out here for a little bit. We'll chat. We've got a good audience in here, so might as well hang out. By the way, smash the thumbs up button for me. I would sincerely appreciate that. And if you haven't checked out last night's SummerSlam review or Saturday's NXT review for that matter, check them out. They were both pretty good. They were both pretty fun. We had a really good audience. Felt like the old days here when we used to like really carry some high numbers. And it felt good to be back to that last night and kind of have a normal sized stream. So we had a good time. We talked a lot about the show, went through everything, about a 2.5 hour long podcast last night. So if you want to relive my thoughts on SummerSlam, check that out later if you're bored and you got nothing else to do. I know. I don't know, and I agree with Notre Dame national champ. I don't have any idea why, because this Payback pay-per-view for Sunday, this date was set a while back. We got this like weeks ago, because I remember talking about it. I'm like, man, maybe it's going to be like a Tuesday in Texas type of scenario where we have a couple of wonky-ass finishes at SummerSlam, and WWE feels like they have to immediately, rectify the situations by booking a bunch of rematches or something, because otherwise, how are you going to do that just 6 days? Why couldn't they do it? I guess the next weekend would be Labor Day. So maybe I can understand maybe not doing it there, but why? Why would you not? So I don't know why this date was set so far ahead of time and why August 30th was pegged when you have a whole entire month until you get to the next pay-per-view, because last time I looked at the pay-per-view schedule, whatever the one in September is like real late in the month. So they got literally like a month. So why couldn't they just put this in 2 weeks, make it on the 14th or somewhere in the middle of the month or whatever? I don't know. I have no idea why they did that. It seems like it's going to force them to rush some things. As we heard tonight, Vince McMahon showing up real late to the show and then rewriting a whole bunch of segments, leaving stuff out. You already can't make your minds up what you're doing, and now you're going to try to do a fallout of one show and a go home on another on the same show? Can't even tie your own fucking shoes, man. So how are you going to pull this off? How are you going to do this? No wonder stuff falls through the cracks. No wonder stuff feels phoned in sometimes. No wonder segments feel lazy. It's because of shit like this, man. And it seems so easily avoidable. All they had to do is move the date. I don't know why they felt like they needed to do it this quick, especially when a lot of these matches you could have just done on TV. If you want to have that tag match with Shayna, with Shayna, Nia, and Sasha and Bayley, just do it on TV. It's a difference. I don't get it. Oh no, Devlin, I did not. I still got to do that. I have because I wasn't rushing it. Once I got the email saying that I was in, it gave me the date that I could book, and it said book on this date or any day after. And when I originally went to the website, you had DM'd me and said I might have to call, because when I went to the website, it just said you're already booked for this event. You can't do anything else, kind of thing, or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so maybe you have to call. I haven't done that yet, but I'm not too worried about losing my spot on the cruise. But yeah, I need to do that. I need to book it. Thanks for all the info too on the beverage packages and all that stuff. I'm a little nervous, the more I think about it, and with COVID and everything, I'm like, dude, I want to go on a fucking cruise, but it's still a year away and there's still time. You can back out and get a refund. So I think I'm going to book it. We're going to go and plan on going. But if things are still sketchy, I'm going to reserve the right to back out. But yeah, I need to get on there and officially book it. And speaking of COVID, my restaurant got news today that we have to close down for 48 hours. One of our cooks tested positive for COVID, so I was supposed to work 2 really long days the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm off the hook for that now because we're closed, but a couple days ago I didn't feel right. I even put on Twitter that I apologized for not tweeting about SmackDown because I felt a little bit under the weather. When you combine that with the fact that I've got a guy in my restaurant who has it, I've called him, or I've made an appointment. I go on Wednesday. I'm hoping it's one of those deals where I can get the results back rather quick so I can inform anybody else that I've been into contact with. I know COVID is weird. It's hard to really pinpoint the symptoms and everything. I feel like I'm fine. I feel like I don't have it. I feel confident it's going to be negative. I don't know what the hell was wrong with me the other day. I just was lethargic or fatigued, which is a symptom. But other than that, it didn't continue. It was one day, felt fine the next, haven't felt weird any other way. I have plenty of energy now. I don't have the sniffles. I'm not nauseous. I'm not coughing. I'm not sneezing. I don't have a sore throat. Nothing like that. So I feel perfectly fine. So I'm confident. And plus, with my kitchen guys, I don't really come into close contact with them anyway. So I doubt if I picked it up at work. I don't think I picked it up from him. I probably picked it up from a customer. But just to be safe, I need to go get myself tested. So keep your fingers crossed for old GMW that I come back negative on Wednesday. But you know what? Even if I'm positive, I will kick the fucking shit out of COVID. It doesn't stand a chance against me. So I'm not too worried. But at the same time, it sucks that we all have to deal with this constant scare and this constant threat. And we'll see. We'll see what happens when I get tested. And I know some of my listeners have reached out to me and told me that you've tested positive. I know there's some people in the YouTube and wrestling community that have. And we've, of course, seen plenty of wrestlers and some people even coming down with it twice that have gotten it. And, so far it's been all good news across the board. And I'm not too concerned. My biggest issue is who, I could potentially infect, my girlfriend and her family, my coworkers, my family, my friends, things like that. And just, regular everyday people that I might see at the grocery store or something. So if I got it, I need to stay put and not leave this house for a while. So I want to know, but I don't think I do have it, but it does suck that, my restaurant's got to shut down for a couple of days while we do some sanitation and follow the correct protocols and all that. And we got to basically just spray down and disinfect the entire place before we reopen. And that won't be until Thursday. So the good news is that gives me a couple of days to work on that special video I have planned for you guys for the end of the week. So, and I haven't, and Devlin, I'm sure too, because you're in the service and stuff, you've probably gotten lots of these. I haven't gotten them. So what, they stick that thing right up your nose or whatever? I'm not looking forward to that, but it's a minor, I guess, uncomfortable experience to go through. I don't think it's painful. It just sucks. So, it's just what you got to do. A lot of these wrestlers are, they're tested daily, upon entering the Thunderdome and all of that. And I think that's why Roman is back, because he feels comfortable with the precautions that are being taken now. And I'm curious too, like guys like, I'm curious how this works. I don't even know. I haven't even bothered to look into this, but say guys like Seth Rollins, who lives in Iowa. Doesn't he have a house in Iowa? Is he going back and forth home between trips, or is everybody just chilling in Florida? I was wondering if everybody was just basically living at a hotel, or maybe some talent has gotten rental properties or rental houses to avoid them having to fly in airplanes, because I wouldn't want to go on a plane every week. Are these guys going home? And where the hell is Becky Lynch? Where does she live? If she probably lives, because a lot of those NXT people and people who come from NXT all have houses in Florida. I think more wrestlers live in Florida than any other state. Even prior to NXT, everybody lived there. Hogan and Beefcake and Nash and Nasty Boys and all those guys. Everybody lived in Florida. So I'm wondering, are the talents that don't live there, are they traveling out of there every single week and then coming back to Orlando? That seems like a huge risk to take. I almost think I'd hire somebody to watch my house for me, and I'd just rent a one-bedroom apartment on a short-term lease and just live there. I don't know what they're all doing. I have no idea, but that would suck to have to constantly go back and forth on the airplane from Orlando to wherever you live. So if anybody knows any of the stories on the wrestlers, I'd like to know. The people that live there, it's easy for them, unless they live really far outside of Orlando, but probably not many of them do, especially those NXT talents. Like Sonya Deville's house and shit like that's probably not too far from the Performance Center or from Orlando. So I don't know. Let me know if you know. Oh, really? You've had a COVID test a couple weeks ago when somebody in your class tested positive? Yeah, and it's everybody that I know has had some sort of scare like that at their work or their job, or they've, somebody, tested positive, so I got to be careful or whatever. We had a hostess in my restaurant a couple weeks ago. She was working. She had only been there an hour. Got a text on her phone from her friend that she was with earlier on in the day. They spent some time together, and her friend said, I tested positive. So we immediately sent her home, sprayed down the entire hostess stand computer with disinfectant and everything. And her dad is one of my co-managers. He works there as well. He went and got tested the next day, and he was hugging her and kissing her goodbye, before he knew about the positive test of her friend, and he went and got tested, and he was fine. So, even if you're in contact with somebody, it's not totally a guarantee. You have to wipe your hand on their face and then lick your hand or something, or whatever. So it's not a total guarantee, that you'll get it. And if you're wearing your mask and, you're a little bit better protected. So, and I think even Moxley, didn't Moxley come out of that just fine. He never tested positive, and his damn wife got it, So, I feel confident that I don't, but you got to be careful. And if you're into contact with anybody, get tested, because if that person passes it to you and then you just come into contact with 50 people that day, you have spread that. That's why it's spreading this so badly in this country, and why we can't get a handle on it, because we don't care. So just do the right thing. Get tested and watch your symptoms, all that good stuff. Keep smashing that thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. I'd appreciate it, because we got a decent audience in here right now. Yeah, some people might drive. A lot of people, well, yeah, that's what I was saying, Victor. I think anybody that lives in Florida is driving back and forth and just commuting. But I'm talking about people that like live out of state. I think Daniel Bryan and Daniel Bryan lives out here, doesn't he? Rey Mysterio lives out here in San Diego. Or Daniel Bryan might be in Arizona. He used to be here. Seth Rollins has a place in Iowa. Who else am I missing that we know like live in certain parts of the country? I know there's a bunch of people that live in Texas and shit. So I'm curious what they are doing, what their travel arrangements are like, and if they are indeed making those long trips home back and forth, if they live in another state. I have no idea. But luckily, I would probably think 60% or more, maybe, of the available talent to them probably does live in the area there. I just don't know. Hopefully nobody lives in Oregon or something. Could you imagine living in Seattle and then having to fly diagonally all the way down to that? You can't even get a longer flight than that in this country and staying inside the bounds of the United States, going down from Seattle to Oregon or to Orlando. That has got to be a long-ass flight. I couldn't imagine, a wrestler having to make that trip weekly. That would suck. And it would be nice if everybody could stay put for a little while just to, just get over all the crazy travel that they've been doing for so many years. I mean, the travel schedule is grueling in professional wrestling. Always has been. It's probably the worst now it's ever been. So to be able to decompress from all of that for a little while and not have to go through the rigors of constant travel, airport lounges and seats and terminals and baggage claims and check-ins and Ubers and cabs, and my God, traveling is miserable. I absolutely hate it. So, it's probably good for them, just to recharge their batteries there and not have to be stuck around a shit ton of people on a daily basis. So, yeah, just curious. I have no idea. Curious to how all that's shaken out. I don't think Daniel Bryan's in Seattle. I know he's from Seattle. I don't think he lives there. I'm pretty sure he lives down here. Haven't we seen the Total Bellas? Isn't all that? I've never seen the Total Bellas, but isn't all of those things like in a nice, warm-looking environment? That ain't Seattle. I don't think Daniel Bryan lives there. I just think he's from there. Braun Strowman, Braun Strowman does live in Kakalaki, so he's another guy I'm curious about. Maybe he's driving his little shitty Kia down to Orlando every week. I hope he's doing that. Yeah, Randy probably lives in Missouri. Yep, that's true. Oh yeah, I didn't think Seth and Becky were staying away from each other. I mean, Seth's got a baby on the way. He's got to be there for his wife. They're married, right? Patrick Ballantine is echoing what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast here, potentially Retribution showing up and helping Roman Reigns win the title. I'm all for that. And like I said at the very beginning, I'm not one of those fans that's going to shit their pants over the title shot, because that's what fans do. All I ask from the WWE is don't give us the same old Roman match and the same old situations and the same old Roman Reigns way. If you do that, that is going to be a recipe for disaster. But like we saw last night, Roman appeared to have a new attitude, a new look. Some people consider that a heel turn. I'm still not sure. But if it's all I want is just, I'm open to anything they do. Whether it's Retribution or whether it's Roman Reigns just being an evil heel now, maybe gets on the mic. Because we're going to see him this Friday on SmackDown. He'll have something to say and set up that match on Sunday. So we'll see how his attitude is on Friday. I think Friday on SmackDown is going to be very telling in terms of Roman's attitude and what his motives are and how he's going to be now. I like the Roman we saw last night. Wreck everyone and leave and just be angry and mad and talk shit and all that. If he's going to have a little bit more of an edge and he's going to have a little bit more rugged look to him, a little more badass look to him, and much like Keith Lee, give Roman Reigns some kind of a gear change. You know what? Give Roman Reigns a music change. I'd be open to that. I mean, all he did was just keep the Shield song when Seth and Ambrose had to change theirs. What's wrong with changing up Roman Reigns, especially if he does go heel? There's no reason. You don't have to have a theme song that's going to pop the audience or anything like that. It can be slower. It can be darker type of thing. I would love to see that. So I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping for, some sort of a new look, new attitude Roman, or at least something close to that. At least try to give him a new look and a new attitude. And it doesn't have to be a completely 180, but, tweak him up a little bit. And to me, that's what it appears they did last night. So all I ask in that match is just don't give us the same old Roman. I don't think, based on what we saw last night, this is the same old Roman. I think he is going to be slightly different. And if that's the case, I'm pretty much open to anything they want to do. Just don't do with him what you would do with Charlotte, or, just put her in there and just give her the belts or whatever. Make him different. Make him interesting. Make him somebody that, the fans want to hate him. Just make him a heel and give him a legit reason to hate him. Have him come out there and talk shit. All that kind of stuff. So I guess it just depends. Depends on what they do. Yeah, the Rock's theme was, the baseline of it was the Nation theme, but it was tweaked up a lot. Roman's has never been tweaked up. It's the same theme, isn't it? There's nothing different about it. The Rock's went through several different changes there. First it was just a spiced up Nation theme, and then to the version we got in more modern times, it was still, that still basic theme of the song was there, but it was so much different, so much more spiced up with all the guitar notes and everything. He had a great theme. And it was good. And if the theme's good, I don't care. You can use it forever. Shawn Michaels never changed his theme, if you can believe that. So, if the theme is good, I don't see a reason to ever change it. But I think Roman could use something else. And at least if they did that, like they did with The Rock, if they would have taken that Shield theme and they would have tweaked it and rounded out the sound more, or added more to it, maybe add some lyrics, or maybe have it be performed by a band or something like that. Because trying to think, there's a couple of examples of this, and help me think of more. Chris Benoit comes to mind. Kane comes to mind. Batista comes to mind. RVD comes to mind. They all kind of had these generic little themes, but then a band remastered their theme, added lyrics, added all sorts of other stuff. Remember how Batista's theme was? And then it went into the hard rock version later on. Rob Van Dam, same thing. Dun, 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 and then it was one of a kind, and you had the band. Benoit was the same way, dun, 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 and then he had the one. So if they did something like that with Roman, that would have been much better, right? If they gave him like a hard heavy metal band performed his song and added some lyrics, I liked it. All those other themes, I like Batista's, I like RVD's, I like Kane's, I like Benoit's. Those all sounded really good. I'm surprised they never tried to do that with Roman. Stone Cold Steve Austin is another one. The Disturbed theme that was still reminiscent of that original glass shattering theme. So if they did that with Roman, that would have been so much better. Maybe they will. Maybe they still will. I don't know. I think he needs a complete revamping of the song completely, especially if he's a heel. Little slower and darker theme, maybe. Or it could be high energy. It could be a little high energy, heavy metal type of song. Whatever it is, it just needs to be badass. How hard is that? You got a badass wrestler, give him a badass theme. WWE, for the first time in a while, I think wrestling theme music is the weak point for them. They've even in their shittiest years, they always had solid themes because they had Jim Johnson. I think back in 93, 94, 95, those were terrible years in terms of business, in terms of storyline, in terms of talent, but you had the most memorable theme songs ever. Shawn, Brett, Owen, Razor, Diesel, Taker, Goldust even, Psycho Sid. I mean, think about all the great themes that you'll never forget from that time period that really sucked in wrestling. And here, WWE's the biggest the company's ever been, making the most money, and they're the most global that they've ever been, yet the theme music was much better back in 1994. What does that tell you? So I think they should do something like that with Roman. Edge is another example. You're right. That's another good one. And I'm sure we can probably find some other ones. I remember when they kind of did a slight change to Kurt's song. And they almost made it, there might have been some guitar riffs in there or something like that. And they had a kind of a different version of it, but it didn't last very long. And sometimes they would change up the opening of it too. But the Patriot used to use that theme. So did Mark Henry back in the day. Henry and Patriot. And actually, Mark Henry might not have used it when he came in as the USA guy, like at Mind Games. I don't think he was using it. I remember after Mark Henry debuted as the USA guy, and then they kind of sent him to developmental or sent him to work on things for a while. You didn't see him on TV much. I saw him at some house shows in like 97. And he wasn't back on TV yet, but he was working live events. And he was just coming out there in plain black and all of that. And he was coming out there to that Kurt Angle theme song. So even Mark Henry used that theme, that Angle and the Patriot did. It's a great theme. Hey, Dan Severn's an underrated theme. That's another one. Severn's theme and Cactus Jack's theme, I always kind of thought were kind of similar. Those themes both I thought could have transitioned well into a really good heavy metal song. I think both of them. Severn's is an underrated. I always liked his. And I love Cactus Jack's too. His WWE version, anyway. Oh yeah, Cesaro's second theme. Yeah, I did like that one. Yep, Sarge used Angle's theme too. That theme has been passed around more than any other theme. Hogan famously took Real American from Rotundo and Barry Windham. Jimmy Hart had his theme stolen a couple of times. The Young Stallions stole. This is how far back my memory goes. I know I'm a sick puppy. Young Stallions stole "Crank It Up" from him. And Strike Force, two pretty boy tag teams, both stole songs from Jimmy Hart. Strike Force stole "Girls and Cars." There was another one I had on the tip of my tongue, too. Yeah, the Hogan one, and then that... I forgot. There was another one I was going to mention, but now I done forgot. Yeah, not many of us are a big fan. A lot of people had not good things to say about Keith Lee's theme song. It was not very good. I agree with that. Maybe it'll grow on us. There have been themes in the past before that I haven't liked, and then I've said, oh, maybe it grows on you. Can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I know they exist. Ooh, I remember a good example. This is how crazy I am, right? I remember at King of the Ring 1994 not liking Bret's new theme. That was the night that it debuted. Because before then, it was the very basic theme, the basic old Hart Foundation theme, dun, 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 you know? And then they debuted that heavy like guitar bending song of his that I grew to love. One of my favorite themes ever. But the first time I heard it, I didn't like it. So Bret's probably the best example of that. Of where I didn't like it at first and then it really, really grew on me. One guy that I loved automatically right from the start, from the very first time I heard it, Diesel. Because in like 94, Diesel, all this theme was a lot like Right to Censor, sort of. The only thing they did in this theme was just honk a truck horn and rev the engine. That's all it was. And then when he won the title, turned babyface, faced Bret at the Rumble, they debuted that... I call it the Roseanne theme because it's got those harmonica or whatever fucking instrument it is. And I immediately loved it. I'm like, oh, that's so much better. It sounds so good. I was a big fan of Diesel's theme from like 95. I liked it. Ciampa's theme is phenomenal. But another thing, even though the CFOs, I think, did a really good job with the theme music, and they had a lot of good ones like Ciampa and Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor, they're all loops. They don't even really last very long. Just like one little 30-second spot, and then it loops and just continues a loop. So that's one of the critiques, I think, of some of their music production was that. But still a lot better than what we're getting now. And I thought they did a great job. They had Bobby Roode is another example of great themes that they've come up with. Yeah, and WCW was a big offender of that. They had like Nirvana and Pearl Jam songs. DDP's song was a knockoff of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Jericho was a knockoff of Even Flow by Pearl Jam. And Raven was a knockoff of Come As You Are from Nirvana. But I think Raven should have done the Even Flow because that was the name of his finisher. They should have put the Even Flow song with him and maybe Come As You Are with Jericho. And there might have been a couple of other examples too, but those are the three songs I remember the most from those WCW days. Hey, I'm with you. AJ, I agree with that. I didn't like the King of Kings either, but then I still don't love it, but it definitely grew on me, and I accepted it more than I did when I first heard it. That's for sure. Rude's theme was supposed to go to Nakamura? For reals? That doesn't seem like it fits Nakamura, but it does seem like it fits Rude. That's weird. And I do know AJ's theme was supposed to be for James Storm, right? You don't want none, or whatever that is. That was supposed to be him. Maybe that's the other one I was trying to think of earlier on. I can think of another one too. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Big John Studd was another one. Studd came back in like 89 as a babyface, and they gave him that theme. And Duggan at the time didn't have a theme song. And then when Studd left, they spiced up that theme a little bit and gave it to Duggan and added in the hose or whatever. Or not the hose, not the Godfather's hose, but the Duggan thumbs up hose, and made it better. And I think there was another one, Bam Bam's babyface theme, they used for something else too. If you go back and listen to all of WWE's like production songs from the 1980s, they loved the saxophone. Vince loved the saxophone. Pay-per-view themes, everything. Survivor Series, Bam Bam Bigelow. All these songs all had like heavy saxophone sounds in them. It was pretty funny. It was like their trademark back in the day. I'm trying to think who else that babyface Bam Bam theme went to. Can't remember. They might have just used it for a pay-per-view or something, but it's been recycled a time or two. We should do a whole stream on just theme music. I should write down a whole bunch of notes and just come up here and talk for hours about theme music, because we could, I think. You could definitely make a whole video of that. Oh, tell me about it, Dre. I just talked about that too. What was the review I did? Where they have they've done that to all the WCW pay-per-views. All, DDP, same thing. He comes out to some stupid shit. Anybody that used one of those songs, WWE, I guess doesn't own the rights to it and doesn't want to pay the royalties or whatever, so they heavily edit all of that stuff, and it sounds like shit. Because when you're trying to edit, you're trying to dub over that song, but you still want to leave the announcers in, it's probably hard to do, and it's hard to pull off because you can always tell when it's edited music because you can barely hear the announcers. The volume is so low, it's probably hard to get all those levels right to where it sounds right. So every time they do that, it just sucks. I noticed the same thing when I did the most recent review I did for WCW was Wrestle War 92 a few weeks back, and there was a couple of songs in there that were definitely dubbed over with other stuff. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's the Steiner brothers too. Steiner's and maybe Sting, because they had vocals. He's a man called Sting. I don't think, I could be wrong. I might not be right about that, but I'm pretty sure the Man Called Sting song isn't on the network either. I think they dubbed that, and then Steiner's had vocals in there. Steiner line, remember? That's not on the network. I don't think. Yeah, and the Sandman's entrance. And I will say, props to WWE for the first One Night Stand in 2005. They paid for Enter Sandman. They paid for the Metallica song. He came out and did that great entrance, and he did the beer, and the fans went nuts. But probably on the network, that's edited too, right? I'm sure. I still have the original pay-per-view broadcast of that, so I can hear the real thing. I have the DVD too. I'm not sure if it's edited on the DVD or not. And then the next year, he was probably using his shitty theme. Because a guy like the Sandman too, that's one thing I almost can't blame WWE about. Sandman is a piece of trash. He is a garbage human being. He's a sexist, racist fucking asshole. So the hell with him. And back then, he's the Sandman. It's not like he's The Rock. He's not anybody who's worthy enough for WWE to spend that kind of money. So I could almost give him a pass in that, because Sandman's just a drunk, pot-bellied idiot, and they're not going to spend a ton of money on his theme song, even though it's awesome for him to make that entrance and the kendo stick and the beer and the busting himself open. It's a great entrance. But Sandman's just not worth it, I think, is probably why WWE doesn't go through with it. Oh, yeah. There's Steamboat. That's the one I was trying to think about. Steamboat is another guy, because on the WWE Network, his theme is edited out of all the WWE shows. I just watched that. I just realized that recently when I was watching WrestleMania 3. And my girlfriend had never seen the whole show before. I'm like, let's sit down and watch it. We watched the whole damn thing. And Steamboat, if you remember, he used to come out to and I don't know who owns it. I don't even know what the name of the song is. You guys probably do. But Steamboat in the WWE would come out to the same theme music that the Chicago Bulls would use in the 90s during the Jordan years for their big entrance. The lights would go down, you know what I mean? And oh my God, and the flames and everything. Michael Jordan. Steamboat used that same theme, so that's owned by somebody else. So all that's dubbed over on the network with some terrible stuff. You know, and the theme is like part of it. I loved that theme for Steamboat in the WWE. I remember it well, but it's all edited off the network, and that sucks. But that's the way it is. Over the years, back in the day when I used to watch, like in the 90s or the early 2000s, and you'd watch like Sports Center, I would hear the Hardy Boys theme. Bob Holly's theme is another really popular, I think, just basic royalty-free production music that you can use or something, because you would always hear the Hardys and Bob Holly in sports highlights for some reason back in the day. So I don't know the story behind a lot of these songs, who owns them, why you can use some, why you can use the other. It's nothing that I've ever taken the time to research, but I do have a lot of questions about some of these songs and why the situations are the way they are. Could make for a good video one day. We should think about it. Dominic Dijakovic and Mia Yim was a part of Retribution tonight. I could see that. I guess that one maybe looked like Mia Yim for sure. And Dijakovic, I know, is definitely there because a couple of guys have been really big, and Dijakovic is really big. So thanks for that juicy nugget, Deshaun Robinson. I appreciate it. NBA now owns the Steamboat theme. Man. Oh, yeah. Taz's ECW theme, and I bet Rob Van Dam's ECW theme are both definitely edited out. And ECW didn't give a shit. They would just use music. Tommy Dreamer came out to a fucking Alice in Chains song, right? Man in a Box. Great song, but you can't use that. And then I think in WWE, he had like a knockoff version of that. Kind of had the same type of rhythm. Ooh, there's another one. Madeline, you just reminded me. Randy Orton, I'll answer your question here in a minute, but Randy Orton used CM Punk's theme song. That was meant for him. Not the Cult of Personality, the one before that. I don't even know how it goes now. Something about burning my eyes out or whatever the fuck it is. So Orton used that at first, and then they gave it to Punk, and Orton got the one we hear currently. I think I like this one more. It's been around now for a while. How long has Randy Orton had this theme? 13 years? 14 years? Maybe 15 years? No, not 15. Could be 14, though, by this point. It's been a long time. He's got one of the longest running theme runs of all time. Randy Orton does. But yeah, I think the CM Punk theme was originally meant for him, too. And I know he came out to it at least once on TV because there's footage of it. But between the ones, his two main themes that he used, I think I like the current one more than the other one. Oh, yeah, SummerSlam and Royal Rumble, another good example, because they used, which one came first? SummerSlam came first before the pay-per-view version of the Rumble. Yes, I know there was one in 88, but I'm talking about 89. And then they recycled the SummerSlam 88 song for Rumble 89, right? Oh, sorry, Victor. I missed a super. How am I missing super chats in here? There's not even that many rolling in, and I'm missing them. There you are. Thanks for that, brother, for the $2. Would you do a review on Survivor Series 98? You were there. I did do a review on Survivor Series 98 years ago, and I think it got taken down. I should redo that one. Or maybe you mean SummerSlam. I don't know which SS you're talking about. If you mean Survivor Series, I've done it, but I might have to redo it because I think that one might have gotten pulled. But SummerSlam 98 I have not done, and that was a great one. Highway to Hell. That's a lot of fans' favorite SummerSlams. One of my favorite, too. Austin and Taker, that great ladder match with Rock and Triple H. We referenced that ladder match last night. And the main event was great. Great match despite it. Austin almost had a disaster in 2 straight SummerSlams. The year before, he's nearly paralyzed by Owen Hart. And the next year, the main event almost had to be stopped in its tracks. I still can't believe Austin survived that. You guys seen that spot in SummerSlam 98? You know what I'm talking about? He shoots Irish Whippins, can't even say it. He shoots Taker into the ropes. Or maybe it's vice versa. Yeah. Taker shoots Austin into the ropes. He goes for a backdrop. And then Austin kicks him, but Taker does that thing where he lifts his head up real quick. But Austin is like leaning over him, and the back of Taker's head just comes up and catches Austin right up under the chin, knocks him into the middle of next Christmas. I mean, crazy. When you see that in slow motion, how did he not die? He had no clue where he was. He was fucking mess. His eyes were glazed over, and he finished the match, and they went on to do some pretty big spots. I think it was after that when the big table bump happened, when Taker dove off the top rope and leg dropped Austin onto the table. I think all that came after the chin spot. So Austin, He could have been completely knocked out, and they would have had no choice but to stop the match. Imagine that. If Austin's just completely unconscious and they have to just stop the pay-per-view. Because you can't let, Austin's not, when he does come to, he's not going to know where the hell he is. You'd literally have to stop the match. How would they have dealt with that? What would they have done? Would they have called an audible? Sent somebody else out there to brawl and try to kill some time because they're on pay-per-view. It's not like the network now. They can't stall. They have to be off at a certain time. That would have been a very panicked environment, I would assume, if Austin wouldn't have been able to continue after that spot. And they would have had to do something kind of similar like that they did the year before, where he's got to do some like bitch-ass roll-up on The Undertaker and like barely pin him, just like the way he barely pinned Owen Hart. That would have been crazy. So WWE dodged a major bullet in that match and luckily was able to get it finished. But you can tell, even at the end of the match, the look on Austin's face, man, that was rough. He took a hard spot, took a hard shot in that match, man. Oh, yeah, there you go. I noticed that too, Michael Cuomo. Appreciate the $5. I noticed that when we were watching WrestleMania 3 the other night. Hillbilly Jim's song, Don't Go Messing with a Country Boy, isn't on the network. They had that dubbed over with something else, and I don't know why. That might be Hillbilly sang it. So, like, Hillbilly's always been in good graces with WWE. That's got to be some sort of, somebody owns that and WWE can't get it, but how much could it fucking cost to have to buy the rights to Ain't Nothing But a Country Boy or Don't Go Messing with a Country Boy? $7 or $8? Just pay it, WWE. Put it on the network. What the hell's wrong with you guys? Yeah, that's another good example. I forgot that's not on there as well. And that's one of the ones that makes no sense. I can almost understand the WCW ones, but the WWF ones, what the hell, man? I wasn't aware of Tori Wilson and Lay Cool. I don't even remember those. But that's interesting, too. Oh, I know. You ain't got to tell me, Dre. I know how great Austin was prior to that pile driver. The way he used to move around. He was still, watch his matches from WCW. He's got a couple of gems in WCW. And, man, he could move. He could sell. Oh, man, there's a great match he had with Steamboat at a pay-per-view one time. It was phenomenal. Just go and watch that. He had so much more mobility, and he was very, what's the word? He was very bendy. Austin could move. He could sell. His arms would flare around. He'd whip his head back, and, he'd do all sorts of crazy stuff. He could take an amazing, like, hot shot, where you back the guy up and he clotheslines himself over the top rope on his neck. He could take amazing bumps there. He could bounce his head around. He was so mobile, and my God, did he change. I mean, he did a complete 180 after the pile driver. He was just a kind of ground-based brawler after really being a guy that was able to move around. He could jump off the top rope. He wasn't acrobatic. He couldn't do backflips and shit, but he could move, and he could sell, and he could tell stories with his body, and that all kind of went away after the pile driver, which is not his fault. He has to take care of himself, but it's a shame. If we would have been able to have that Austin with that level of mobility as WWE champion, think about that match. If we had that Austin against a healthy Shawn, we got it a couple times on Raw, actually, in like 96 and 97. But imagine that main event. Imagine WrestleMania 13's Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on Shawn the following year, a full-strength Shawn. That might have gone down as one of the best matches of all time in WrestleMania history. I think they were both good enough in their prime to, really put on a good main event. But Austin was a different worker, and Shawn was injured. And I still don't think the match sucked, but imagine how good it could have been if both guys were at full strength. And yeah, I miss that Austin, man. And we got a taste of him, his ringmaster days, and then that year there, that 1997, when he really started getting cooking, and the match at WrestleMania with Brett, and and I thought the match at SummerSlam with Owen would be just as good. I thought him and Owen would have a fun program because Austin's good in the ring. And then the pile driver that ruined it all, man. My God. Who knows when Austin, if that pile driver wouldn't have happened, what year do you think he would have retired? He had his final match in 2003. I'd probably say 2010, something like that. I'd probably say around the time Shawn did. I think Austin could have gone that long because just his style. Easily. Maybe even later than that. Maybe 2012. Would have been a while, though. He would have hung around for probably anywhere from 5 to 10 years after that, had it not happened. AJ, thank you, dude, for the $5. Haven't seen many NWA shows, but Road Warriors theme is probably edited right. In the NWA, they used a couple different ones. The Road Warriors actually used the theme, and there was that's another cool thing about wrestling themes, another weird thing. The companies did use the same themes a couple times. There was some other production music that must have been available to everybody. One of the best examples of this I can think of is Lex Luger's theme in WCW when he jumped. In 95 when he jumped there, and they had that theme for him. That was also the very same theme as the promo spot for the WWF hotline. Call 1-900 whatever the fuck WWF and listen to Jim Ross or whatever. That song they would play in the background, that was Luger's theme in WCW. And there was another one involving the Road Warriors when they were there prior to them coming back to WWE in 97 when they showed up at the Manhattan Center. And they were in WCW like in 96. They were on Nitro. And the theme that they used was a song that WWE used in a lot of their video packages. So there was a couple of crossover themes that you would see there, and I don't remember what the hell they came out to in the NWA. They might have used a real song, which is why I don't remember. I actually can't remember. But yeah, there's some edited ones there, but I think that other song is probably all right. I'd like to go into some Nitros and find a Road Warriors match and listen to the song there and see if it's edited or not on the network. I have the complete full seasons of Monday Nitro from 96 and 97 taped directly off TV. Every single episode, got them right on DVD right behind me. And those are all raw, man. It's good to hear those original themes and the original production and all that stuff. That's why physical media should never die, you know? How old's Austin? I don't know. 55, you're saying? Sounds about right. Man, 1992 was 30 years ago. Or no, 1990 was 30 years. I'm jumping ahead. 1990 was 30 years ago. Man. Austin's only 55. That would put him at 25 and 90. I guess that's about right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I love the Horseman's theme. That's one of my favorites. The one that they used at the end. I don't know how long they used that one, but the one that they would come out to in like 98 and shit, that was my favorite Horseman theme. So good. Oh, okay. Yeah, they use Black Sabbath. Well, yeah, obviously, that's definitely going to be dubbed on the network. Faux show. For real, Zane tells us that WWE are throwing out fines to fans who screw up in the Thunderdome. Can they fine a fan? If WWE tried to fine me, you know what I tell them? Fuck you. You can have my nuts. How about that? Fine me. I mean, unless you have to put in your credit card information or something and they charge you, they're going to fine them? That's hysterical. I missed that. What did Mark Henry say that on Raw tonight? I was not paying attention. I was dealing with the COVID test appointment during the whole arm wrestling BS. So I did see, though, that Cedric and Ricochet were backstage with Mark Henry. I didn't hear anything that was said. He called him Cedric the Entertainer. He should. He's entertaining, and he's Cedric. Why not? Can't be any worse than what he's doing now, right? Alrighty. We have been going for about 2 hours now, so I'm probably going to sign off here in just a couple of seconds. See if there's any last-minute things we need to discuss, because we really wrapped up the Raw results within the first hour. We've just been shooting the shit here for the past 45, 50 minutes or so. So there's not too much left to say until later this week. That's funny. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about these fines. I'm going to read up on some wrestling news tonight, see if I can catch this story or catch this information. I mean, how the hell are they fining you? I'd like to see them try to fine me. Man, how about this? How about something funny happened to me last night? I got banned from Twitter for 12 hours last night because during SummerSlam, Scott Stanford, who I love, who interacts with me a lot on Twitter, he's always responded to me on Twitter over the years. He posted something about he's going to be in the Thunderdome. Look for me in the Thunderdome. And just as a joke, I replied. I said, "Show us your boobs." Just as a joke. And Stanford liked the tweet and he laughed or whatever. And then last night, I go to tweet something like late last night, and it redirects me to this page, and it says, "You violated Twitter's terms of use. We found this tweet that it was a violation of our policies, and it showed the tweet, and it said, show us your boobs. And because of that, you cannot tweet for 12 hours. The only thing you can do is send DMs to your followers. That's all you can do. And I'm like, for show us your boobs? I wasn't even saying it to a woman, because I would never say that, to a woman, because, that probably is offensive and disrespectful these days. But I was saying it as a joke. 90% of the tweets I make are just me making sarcastic jokes about shit. So I couldn't believe it. So I tweeted that out today, and Scott Stanford actually retweeted it when I was like, dude, all I said was show us your boobs. And then Stanford said, he goes, I did show you my boobs, and I didn't even get penalized for it. No penalties at all. So I don't know if somebody reported the tweet, or, some fucking do-gooder or killjoy reported the tweet, but I've never had any issues with Twitter. I've never been in trouble, never been banned, never been reprimanded, because I'm not an asshole on Twitter. I'm usually just trying to hang out and have fun more than anything else. So I asked Scott Stanford, a man, to show me his boobs. Twitter got mad and deleted me. I have seen, there's a couple of followers of mine too. I've seen full-blown porn clips. Here's with full penetration, things entering other things. And those aren't banned, but I say the word boobs and I'm banned. Are you kidding me? I mean, not banned, but suspended for 12 hours. So I got into Twitter trouble. I was in timeout. So sad. But luckily, I didn't have anything to say anyway. I noticed it right before I went to bed. I slept, got up today, waited a few hours, and the Twitter ban was over. But how funny is that? How stupid is that? Oh, I like that one, AJ. When am I going to review the Iron Man match between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar? I was going to. I thought somebody had requested on Patreon that they wanted me to do that review. Was it you? And then I didn't hear back? Or did I make a mistake? AJ, it was you, wasn't it? Oh, man, I might owe you that. I had that all set up, and I was going to do it, even talked about it, and then I don't think I saw the payment go through or something, and so I just kind of put it on the back burner. If I owe you that, I will put that together right away, because I also have to do, for Jimmy, we got to do a Roddy Piper review, which I have put everything together. I just have to watch a lot of material because I want to refresh my memory on a lot of the Piper's Pits. So I've got some of it put together, but I have a lot of notes to make, and that'll be just a random live stream one night. But I'm sorry. If that's supposed to be for you, dude, and I messed up, I owe you one. I kind of thought that was being held off for another time. Sorry. Shit. But yeah, if I owe you that, I will get that done right away because my buddy, Daniel, was at that show. That match was in North Carolina, and for the life of me, I don't know why I wasn't there. It was a SmackDown, right? 30-minute Iron Man match, correct? Everybody raves about the match. I just didn't go. I don't remember why I didn't go. I probably just did, maybe I couldn't afford it, or maybe I was busy, or whatever was going on. I can't remember what my reason was. But my friend was there, and I even told him when I was going to set this review up, I'm like, if you have any specific memories of that, or if you have any photos from the event, let me know what they are so I can kind of add it to the review. So I am really sorry about that, AJ. I thought that was something that we were waiting on. Anywho, I do want to do it, and I will if I owe it to you. So yeah, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go clean up and start looking at some of these messages and some of this Patreon stuff, and maybe read up on some emails and see what I've missed, because I might have screwed up there, and I sincerely apologize. I guess I didn't really forget, AJ. I think I looked for. I think at the beginning of the month, I looked at all the receipts or whatever. I didn't see you or whatever, and that's obviously my fault. I overlooked something. I'm so sorry. So let's put that one back on the docket. As a matter of fact, I have that folder. The folder is already made because whenever I decide to do a video, I just make a document folder and start putting all the shit that I need for it in there. And I stuck it in another folder for later. Oh, I stuck it in the Piper one. Here it is right here. Yeah, so I've got the Piper promos live stream for Jimmy Anderson, and I have yours right here. So I'm going to move this back to my main folder so I can start putting together that project. Well, cool. Now I got 3 projects. I'm going to bust out this Jericho one this week, and we're going to get Piper and that SmackDown done ASAP. I owe you one, AJ. Throw something else, DM me, and let me, if you want me to elaborate on anything else or add some more material to that review, let me know. I'll give you a freebie. Sorry about that, man. Shit. My bad. But anyway, that should wrap it up. Oh, it was an hour Iron Man match. I thought it was 30 minutes. Was it an hour? Shit, I forgot. That's why I got to watch it. Know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to bail out of here now. Hate to strand 500 people in the chat, but I've been talking for about 2 hours now, and I got stuff to do. And I now have another video to do, apparently, according to AJ. So AJ, my friend, I am so incredibly sorry. I will definitely do that. because I was looking forward to it. Like, I actually want to review the show because I wasn't there, and I should, I haven't watched it since that year, because I remember watching the match and liking it and agreeing it, but I can't remember the last time, if ever, if I've gone back and watched it. So that'll be fun to review, because that was a big year for both of those guys. WrestleMania 19 and the big main event and the Brock botch, and they passed the title back and forth a couple times. That's going to be fun to review, and I'm going to get on that right away. So I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. I will make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Good Mic Works, so I can keep you updated on as to when I'm going to have this special bonus video up for you. And then I'll let you know next week when we're going to do the Piper stream and anything else that I've got going on, especially the video that I owe AJ Daniels. So thanks again for being here. I'll catch you later on this week, and then the next time you'll see me on camera talking in podcast form will be this coming Saturday for the Winged Eagle, and I have decided that I will do one because it's also the day before Payback, but there's going to be a lot to talk about after Wednesday, after Friday, and we'll include Payback predictions in Saturday's podcast, because I wasn't up here last Saturday because of NXT. So we're definitely going to do a Winged Eagle this week, and we'll have all of the predictions for Payback included in the podcast. So I will see you guys back for that, and then you'll get a video from me probably around Thursday, maybe even Wednesday, on the channel to kind of hold you over. So you guys have a good rest of your night. Thank you for a great weekend. Fun 3 days here streaming on the channel. It's always great hanging out with you guys. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you real soon. Peace.